It's still a football Friday. It's a little bit different. I still wore my Browns gear as I was doing on a Friday. It's the first Friday, Ryan, in what, 6 months that we haven't had a Browns game this weekend. It is sad from that standpoint. You still have a great slate of NFL action coming up. We'll get to our typical picks coming up. But how different is it going to be? Are you going to watch it fulfilled from the Browns season and feeling an air of, not confidence, but you just feel good? Or are you going to watch everybody else play it out in the divisional round saying we should have been there, we could have been there? We'll discuss that. We've got Joe Flacco speaking on his future in Cleveland, and I can't tell you how excited I am for this. 9:30, Jack Duffin, OBR. We're keeping him for a half an hour. Cap questions, roster questions, Teller, Cooper, Deshaun Watson, all of that coming up with Jack at 9:30. We got our typical boots. We're going to get to our NFL picks. We have got to get to Time Hop today, Ryan, because there is a cinematic masterpiece released this day in history that I will not let slide by. We got it all for you here still on a Football Friday right here on Big Play. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. He is Ryan Tyler. Good morning. Hopefully everybody is safe out there. Ryan, I will say I appreciate you making the trek in this morning. It was not easy for anybody, but we made it. We're here. If honestly, I'm a West Sider, you're an East Sider, so we have the perfect meld of it. I gave it about a 6.5 on a 10. I've lived in Cleveland my entire life, so I've seen bad snowstorms. Don't go out if you don't need to. Side streets, we're still getting there. Please watch the plow trucks. I've gotten nothing but reports this morning of people crashing into plow trucks. Stay safe out there. If you don't need to go out, don't. It's supposed to keep going on, but we're here this morning. How was your trek in from the east side? Not too bad, right?
No, it was actually surprisingly good. I think it was Monday this week or Tuesday, one of the early days. I left so it's a typically 30-minute drive.
Yeah.
It took me an hour.
Oh, yeah.
15, hour 30 to get here on like Tuesday. And so I thought the same was going to be today's case, obviously. So I got up super early, left super early. And of course, it was great.
Easy trek.
Easy
trek on in. So we're glad we made it. We're here with you. We'll take you up to 11 o'clock this morning. Got a lot coming. Again, I can't say it enough. I'm so excited to talk to Jack. I already cleared a half hour with him. I was like, dude, are you good for a half hour? We could talk to Jack forever. We are going to do position by position. We need contract updates. You brought up Wyatt Teller, and I think we're going to have that conversation with Jack because I know the numbers might not be there to keep Wyatt, but if they we'll get to all of it coming up. So we'll get to our NFL picks as well. Got a lot coming up today here on the show. Cavs are back in action tomorrow. So we'll maybe do a boost. Maybe we'll do a boost tomorrow and send that out to everybody for our Cavs play tomorrow night. But we start with the Browns today. And how are you going to view this weekend? You know, the anger I had, the upset that I had early in the week, it's dissipated. I look back on the season, really a full heart, I guess. Like, it sucks the way it went down. And I don't know how I'm going to feel when I watch the Houston Texans play tomorrow, right? Because they have Baltimore tomorrow. So when I watch that game's so hard because, I'm never going to root for Baltimore. But also there's like that element of, do you root against Houston because they beat you?
No.
That's a great question if you want to post this morning. Who are you rooting for tomorrow? Houston or Baltimore? Is it easy Houston?
Easy Houston. All right. Absolutely.
All right. I'm just wondering. Because, are you going to watch this weekend feeling kind of that we could have been there, we should have been there? Are you going to compare?
But no, because we shouldn't have been there, clearly.
I guess, but on another day, I don't know. In a parallel universe, we win that game of all the hype and all the it's over.
Shoulda, coulda.
I guess, but I'm going to watch this weekend. I'm going to compare. I'm going to watch how these teams play and go, the Browns could have done that. Browns should have been doing that. We're in a better position than that team. You
ever heard the saying, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle?
Yeah, exactly. I get it. Candies and nuts, we'd all have a great Christmas. I get it. I understand that. But I just, your viewing of the weekend, is it going to be different based on how the Browns played? I still am positive about the season, so I'm not going to sit here as some gremlin just upset and angry. I'm going to watch every one of these games this weekend. I'll be fully invested, but I'm going to watch it through the lens of we could have been there. We could have been that team. And there's that element of positivity, say you should have been. And I hope this team feels the same way as they get into their offseason, as they get ready for next season, feeling like they missed out. you feel like you missed an opportunity to at least advance. And I know if they were playing this weekend, the party that this would have been, even though it would have been on the road, and how far would you have gone? Browns are out of it. And they're like a lot of teams now searching around for an offense coordinator. Got big OC news, just not here in Cleveland, down in Columbus we'll get to coming up. But I'm going to watch it a little bit differently this weekend. But it's from, I hope, a level of positivity on where the Browns are at. Well, speaking of positive, Joe Flacco had some very positive things to say about the Cleveland Browns. So, Ryan, you alerted me about this. So, Flacco was on Pardon My Take, right?
Yep.
It's Barstool, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Barstool. Shout out to those guys. So, he was on there yesterday, and he was asked about his time in Cleveland and also talked about his future when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Here's Joe Flacco yesterday on Pardon My Take.
I didn't know what.
In terms of a headline grab, you already said that you wanted to keep playing, that you got the confidence back, and we saw that the arm's very much still there. You can still play. Do you want to come back to Cleveland next year?
Ooh,
Man, Cleveland was unbelievable. I'm definitely open to be back in Cleveland. At the same point, like, I don't want to rush to any decisions either. I mean, I didn't know what the market for QBs was going to look like last spring, and I don't know what it's going to look like this spring. So I don't know if I'm going to have options or if I'm going to have zero options. I love Cleveland though. I love the building, the people, everything about it. I think, it's funny when you go from, when you get to see a few different organizations and then you go to Cleveland, and I don't think people really, I don't think you ever hear too many like, oh man, Cleveland's an awesome organization, and man, they've done this well and done that well. But I can't say enough good things about how that organization is being run right now, and the atmosphere in the building and the way that guys feel like their future's headed. So I think it would be a very special place to be.
In terms of a headline grab, you already said
there. Yeah, so that was Joe Flacco yesterday on Pardon My Take. He's doing the smart thing. He's leaving the door open, and he knows that he captivated this town. He knows he played to a really high level for the Cleveland Browns. He wants to leave that door open. We'll post our Twitter question this morning at Matt Fontana Show. Would you want the Browns to bring Joe Flacco back? Do you want the Browns? Now, do you think they will? Do you think he would want to come back? You as a fan, do you want Joe Flacco back with the Cleveland Browns next year in what we assume would be a backup role and an emergency quarterback due to the injuries in whatever capacity it might be? Would you want the Browns to bring Joe Flacco back? I mean, he said a lot of really important things. I was trying to take some notes there. I love this city. I love this team. But he said that line about, I don't ever think you hear people say Cleveland is a great organization, but I can't say enough good things on how well that team is run. Can you pull it up again? Sorry, I want to play that. Like, we'll play the whole clip, but I really want people to focus in on the positivity that he had for the organization. And this is a guy that's played a lot in the NFL. He's seen it. He knows. And he spoke glowingly of the organization. Here again, Joe Flacco on Pardon My Take yesterday.
Want to come back to Cleveland next year?
Ooh.
Man, Cleveland was unbelievable. I'm definitely open to be back in Cleveland. At the same point, like, I don't want to rush to any decisions either. I mean, I didn't know what the market for QBs was going to look like last spring, and I don't know what it's going to look like this spring. So I don't know if I'm going to have options or if I'm going to have zero options. I love Cleveland though. I love the building, the people, everything about it. I think, it's funny when you go from, when you get to see a few different organizations and then you go to Cleveland, and I don't think people really, I don't think you ever hear too many like, oh man, Cleveland's an awesome organization, and man, they've done this well and done that well. But I can't say enough good things about how that organization is being run right now, and the atmosphere in the building and the way that guys feel like their future's headed. So I think it would be a very special place to be.
In terms of a headline,
I mean, that is, I just taking that away. Like, again, we'll talk about if Flacco returns or not. But Ryan, that was such a big mark about the Browns for a long time, of basically their ripping of this organization was never run right, or there weren't the right people in place. So if I take out Joe Flacco playing quarterback here, I just look at it this way. You have an uber veteran who has played for a lot of different teams, successful teams, and he's talking positive on the organization. It's one of the best things I've heard. That's great. And we've seen a lot of that change. We've seen the flip with this regime and the changing of putting the right people in place and drafting the right players. And lo and behold, that leads to success on the field. You don't just snap your fingers, draft a quarterback, and all of a sudden you're in the Super Bowl. It takes that culture that we talk about, but it's also the organization, right? The people that you have in place. And even that last line where he goes, guys feel good about their future in Cleveland. What was the old mark forever? Oh, Cleveland's a place they come to die. You get shipped off to Cleveland. Odell was even talking that. I don't know, maybe got taken out of context, but guys came here at the end of their career to get a fat paycheck before they retired. I can name a lot of names. Then you had other guys that were discarded by other teams. You overpaid for guys in free agency. Wasn't quite that destination. To hear a guy like Joe Flacco, who I'm sure would speak positive, right? Captivated this town. He made some good money while he was here. He, of course, would have good things to say, but he didn't have to go that in depth. You know what I mean? He could have just said, hey, I love my time there. The fans were great. I had an awesome time, and I hope I can return. He went out of his way to mention the organization and to say that they now have the pieces in place to make this work. I'll carry that with me more than anything. Players come and go. You've got your core group, your generational players that you have here, but it will be forever the organization that gets you through bad times or keeps you on the track of pushing towards a Super Bowl. The regime changes over and over again, and I'm not saying they weren't warranted and you needed to keep searching until you found the right guys, but that is what's going to carry you further. That is what's going to take you to the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl. So hearing that from Joe Flacco, that was my favorite thing. I know he loved this town. Yeah. We loved him. It was great. But for him to speak so highly on the organization was awesome.
And that's coming from a guy who not only has been in this league for 10 plus years, but that's coming from a guy who's been in the league 10 plus years on a team that has consistently been one of the most well-run and most consistent playoff teams in the league in the last 20 years.
Yeah, and that's, again, putting the people in place to do the job efficiently, get the right people in here, that will lead to success. Now, the other part of that, him coming back. Of course, he's going to leave the window open. And he said there, I don't know what this quarterback market is going to look like. The spring could be a lot different. You might have, I actually think there might be a few decent bridge quarterback jobs out there. But the one thing that we have had over the last 5 years, Ryan, is just this influx of so many young quarterbacks and, frankly, a lot of young, good quarterbacks where guys, how many quarterback jobs are available right now? Not too many. Like, even teams that struggle that aren't in the playoffs, they still have their quarterback. They're not going anywhere. You have potential surplus, like if Kyler Murray leaves Arizona or if Justin Fields leaves Chicago, then you add in the draft class that's coming in. Those jobs might be few and far between.
You know what I just thought of when you mentioned that? Because obviously that's a likely scenario is him to be a bridge quarterback.
That's all he's got, yeah.
I thought about the Atlanta Falcons.
Right, and that... there's
if Belichick comes in here and runs that team, and then also they're going to have to draft a quarterback.
Baker and all that. Right, they're going to need a quarterback. So if they go draft one, then I would think Joe Flacco would be right up Bill Belichick's alley there as a bridge guy and doing exactly what you want. Again, you sneak into the playoffs with them. That's nothing wrong with that. Sure. But outside of that, what other bridge jobs could really be there?
Plus, you look at what Flacco did in Cleveland in terms of he unlocked a new dimension to this offense because he was able to utilize Amari Cooper so heavily. He was able to utilize Drake. He was able to utilize David Njoku so great.
And they got
go to Atlanta, go do that with Drake London and Kyle Pitts.
Right. And I'm sure that there will be people calling for his services. And then there's guys like Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It might be a tough go here for Flacco. So let's do both sides of this coin. Let's do why it makes sense for Joe Flacco to come back to Cleveland. Let's do the reasons why it doesn't. We'll start with the positive. Well, number one, he had some of the best quarterback games that you've seen in a long time around here. He very clearly fits this offense. Now, that jumps into who the offensive coordinator is and what changes they can make and all that. But I'm just talking about Kevin Stefanski as the play caller and the weapons that you have on this team. Joe Flacco fits. He fits what they wanted to do here. I know some of it got exposed in that playoff game, certainly, but you feel like this is an offense that can run here for him, number one. Number two, well, he's captivated the fan base. That is an element to this. People love him. They want him to be here. That gives you a little bit more of a leash, so to speak. People are going to call for a job. I get it. The other part, the veteran leadership. What he brought to this team in uncalming times. He calmed the waters. He was this stable figure, and he's well-liked in that locker room. Anything else with Joe Flacco that you would say is a positive for him coming back here? Why you would want him back? I'm assuming he'd be attainable from a contract standpoint, potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Did you mention just? Sorry, I was looking at something.
You're fine.
Did you mention like just his veteran leadership there?
Yeah. I mean, I think him being here, that calming force is certainly it. So those are all the reasons for it. The reason against it, he's not your quarterback. Like it or not, Deshaun Watson is your starting quarterback. He is your franchise quarterback. That, and as long as he is here, that will be the case. So you wouldn't need Joe Flacco. Well, Matt, what if Deshaun Watson goes and gets hurt again? That very well could happen. You can't prepare for injuries that way in the NFL. You just can't. The Browns are operating at this point that Deshaun Watson will play 17 games for them this season and not miss an offensive snap. That is how you have to prepare. And for some of the positives that I brought up about Flacco, they're also the negative. If he is still here with the team next year, people will be calling for him to play. And I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson or Kevin Stefanski or the organization should not be able to handle that. Because that's number one. If he's here, you got to deal with it. If the Browns brought Joe Flacco back and people would be worried about the psyche of Deshaun Watson or him looking over his shoulder, I would very flat out tell him, you got to deal with that, man. You have got to deal with that fact because this is what is the best interest of the football team. And people will still be calling for his job and saying that he should start. And just look at it. You are paid. You are a starter. You better deal with that. And I'm going to also ask the organization to do that if they were to bring him back. But there is that element. There's that element of looking over your shoulder, and it would be viewed as the Browns not being all in on Deshaun Watson. And they have no choice but to be. And that is why I very unfortunately have to say, I don't think they can bring him back. Again, if they did, I'm asking everybody to put their big boy pants on now and deal with it. But I think that's something that it's more of this statement that you are making. The Browns are in this corner right now. Their only way out is to go all in with Deshaun Watson. You don't re-sign Joe Flacco if you're all in on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate heavy no.
Yeah.
Yeah. This doesn't even have anything to do with Deshaun's personality and me saying that they can't coexist.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't even know if this has anything to do with Joe Flacco, right? It's the fact of that you would bring in another guy that could potentially, again, it's almost like the optics. It's the optics of what you look at. It's the rest of that building, and especially the rest of that locker room, right? You need those guys 100% behind Deshaun Watson. If Joe Flacco's still here, can they really do? They're always going to be looking over there. I had that guy over there. Remember what he did here? I don't think they can.
Yeah, you just it's not really possible to avoid having them both in the locker room and those players that Deshaun starts to play bad or anything, for them not to look at Joe Flacco and just remember what he did for this team. And especially with you now getting rid of Alex Van Pelt and hiring somebody that we assume is their job is to unlock that Deshaun Watson that we need. For me, it doesn't make sense to bring back Joe Flacco.
And the thing is, for Joe Flacco, he probably wants to play. I assume that this stretch run reminds him and probably tells some teams like, dude, I can still do this. I can still play.
And another part of it, too, is, right, that aspect of we don't even know what Joe Flacco wants to do. I mean, if you're him, you're 30, you're 39 now, you have a family, why not go do the same thing that you did last year and just wait, spend time with your family. Somebody will get hurt and wait till you get another phone call.
I mean, that's the ultimate question. Do you want to give this one more run? Is it, hey, I'm going to even announce before the season, like, this is my last season? Or and the thing is, the roll of that dice, I mean, to the butterfly effect of him coming here and the games that he played, I think even he'd tell you that was above expectations, right? You can't assume that if you sit out for half the year, some team's going to come and you're going to set some NFL records on monthly passing and take a team to the playoffs. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen, but there is that element too. For him, does he want to go through training camp again too? Like that's the other part of it.
One of his huge reasons, if not the biggest, to come back and play football, he said, was for his kids to see their dad play.
Well, maybe mission accomplished. The other thing
and he really did that at the highest level I think that he was capable of. So kind of end on that high note.
Exactly. Do you really want to play it out and potentially maybe, I don't know, go get hurt or play poorly? Yeah, dude, end it on the highest of highs. This is about the highest you think you could get with it. Yeah. And maybe walk off on that. And we'll always have the memories. We'll always have the T-shirts. And we'll tell stories about Joe Flacco here in years past. And it was a great run. And it was awesome. But the thing is, it's over. It is. And I think the best interest for the Cleveland Browns would be to move on. Now, the other thing, and we'll get to this with Jack, because we got to talk to Deshaun Watson when it comes to Jack Duffin coming up. Capologist for OBR. Dude, this conversation is going to be great. I can't wait. 10 minutes away. If they need to move on from Deshaun Watson, now you got a model of a guy that you know works. Because the other part of it is, I am believing and I hope that Stefanski and Barry would survive if Watson went bad, right? If this Watson thing didn't work out, this is all under the assumption that Kevin Stefanski is still here calling plays and it's his offense. Well, now I see the type of guy that fits this. And you know it works. Now, you got to try it a little bit of a different way with Deshaun Watson. And again, we've talked about that, of unlocking the playbook and all the different things that Watson can do. But at least you now have a fail-safe. Whether it's a veteran guy, whether it's going to draft somebody in the future, you can now look and say, well, let's just go find somebody that's a little like Joe Flacco. It's never that easy. I understand that. But at least you now have a base of what this offense can look like and what kind of quarterback works. And I would hope that they would give them that opportunity. Again, with Watson, I hope he plays well. The easiest answer for the Cleveland Browns, for you, for me as a fan of all of it, is Deshaun Watson comes out, he's healthy, and he plays really well. And they'll figure everything else out from there. But at least you know what the offense can look like with a guy like Joe Flacco. And they'll see how that goes. All right, again, Jack coming up at 10 minutes, but I did want to talk Bill O'Brien. So he is reportedly going down to Columbus. He's going to be the offensive coordinator, and it sounds like he's calling plays, which is an interesting revelation there from Ryan Day. And Ohio State and Ryan Day, he's entering a little of the Kevin Stefanski war type thing where people just were so angry with him. Now, number one, Ohio State had an awesome offseason. The transfer portal has been good to them. They've kept their recruits. They did a good job. And people might say that this was the cherry on the sundae of now having Bill O'Brien, a veteran play caller, both in the NFL and in the college ranks, to be able to handle this job. But the questions will be now, well, you got a guy that can just take over for Ryan Day if you need to exit it. And I think that's interesting on this move from Ryan Day. I'm not saying that this is the first step towards Ryan Day not being the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes anymore. But I'm also not saying it isn't. When you bring in a guy that takes over the biggest role that you had, I guess maybe not, because in college it's recruiting. But one of the biggest roles that you had, you're now turning that over to him because, the question will be, was this forced? Was it his decision? I don't know. But you also got that guy, it's a very clear move's got to be made. Your replacement is right there. Never want to hire your replacement. But I also think that this was pressure enough on Ryan Day that this move needed to be made. That also being said, this is maybe what the football team needed. Maybe this is just strictly, this is the best move for this football team to compete this season coming up. But I can't help but look at all the other stuff and try to connect dots and say, like, okay, well, wait a minute, what about this? Or what do we feel about this? And you have a guy in the building that's really good at offensive coordinating. You've got a really good play caller. And now that's his job to take this team to the nth degree. But it's even more pressure now in Ohio State. In a year that I really thought that they were going to struggle. I thought that this year coming up, Ohio State might even lose 2 or 3 games. Ryan, I have flipped that. I have completely changed now, where I am going to ask, even in a year that you're welcoming in all these Pac-12 teams, with Bill O'Brien, with Judkins, with Howard, with Travion Henderson coming back, JTT, I am now requiring a yet again undefeated season and a bye in the playoffs and a chance to go win a national championship. On that, great job, Ohio State. Great job, Ryan Day. Because you took me as the average fan and you have flipped my expectations back to we should go win a national championship. That's not easy to do. And that is back to the mark that a lot of Ohio State fans will always have. Again, there's always this level of people that it's national championship or bust and you better go win one. Well, now, and I'm more in the middle, right? Where I realize, hey, you might have a down year here and there. All right, I'm in with the crazies now. Get Buckeye guy down here. Where's Bucknut? Big Nut, whatever the hell his name is.
Big Nut.
Big Nut.
Big Nut's
I
his
think
name?
that's what his name is. The guy that paints his face and all that kind of stuff. Get him down here. I'm in. Give me a cowboy hat with Ohio State on it. Dude, I'm back in. They better go undefeated and win a national championship. They've made those kind of moves that have flipped really how I view this season. So in that sense, I got to give Ryan Day a big thumbs up, man. Good job. Great offseason.
You think they'll be number one?
I mean,
I got to imagine they probably would be.
There's a good chance, man. Seriously, there's a really good chance. I apologize. I did not look this up. The 2024 Ohio State football schedule. We start with the MAC powerhouse that is the Akron Zips.
Ooh.
Western Michigan, Marshall, Michigan State, Iowa, at Oregon on October 12th. Nebraska, Penn State, Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, and Michigan. It is laid up yet once again.
It's an easy schedule.
You got 2 games, man. You got Michigan, who knows who they're going to be or what they're going to be. Maybe Penn State and Oregon.
That will be in Happy Valley, though.
That is in Happy Valley. Correct. Yeah. Correct. So your 2 of your 3 biggest games this year are on the road. Michigan is here at home, but you're in Eugene and you're in Happy Valley for Penn State. You avoid Wisconsin on this. I could give you, okay, Iowa, I've never really believed in Iowa, but okay, fine. Yes, they were one of the better teams in the Big Ten.
Don't get Washington.
Don't have Washington. Don't have UCLA. Don't have USC yet. So Oregon's your big Pac-12 influence on this schedule here. I'd be a little sneaky maybe for Nebraska. I keep thinking Matt Rule's going to turn that around. And I don't know, maybe Nebraska. But again, you have laid it up at this point where you don't have an out-of-conference game that matters. You got 2 MAC schools in Marshall, so you're good on that. You don't have some big out-of-conference game that you got to face. So you're back in this. You are right back in this. And they have flipped me around. And I'm excited to see what Bill O'Brien's got. All right, I'm excited. Let's catch our break. We got to get to Jack Duffin as soon as we come back. Folks, you don't want to go anywhere. We're keeping Jack for a half an hour. We are going to go position by position. Wyatt Teller, Amari Cooper, restructures, Watson, cap space. You want to learn more about the Browns and their roster heading into this offseason? You will do it with Jack Duffin from the OBR. He will join us next. Fontana Show presented by Tipico. Use that code Fontana100 when you sign up to get those bonus bets with Tipico. Duffin is next. All right, back here, Fontana Show on Big Play. Really excited to talk to Jack Duffin here in a couple of minutes. We're going to run through all of it, where the Browns stand from a cap space standpoint, and Jack's latest article, which I saw him tweet this, his second most read article ever on OBR. We're going to get up to number one with him. And he goes position by position, guaranteed money, no guarantees. And really, with Jack, we're going to go by positions. Who needs to get re-signed? Who's got money still on the books? What are they going to do? Potentially with the Deshaun Watson deal. But really, I'm kind of focused on a couple other guys. Amari Cooper, Wyatt Teller. Those guys don't have any guarantees left. What money could be moved around? And also, what wide receivers? What kind of money are we going to be able to say we can throw at a free agent wide receiver? And really, is there another guy on this team that we're not talking about that needs that contract extension? Maybe Nick Chubb. We'll get to all that coming up with Jack, because I think this offseason for the Browns, as we know, is so extremely critical. It is so important for this team. You had good success. You were able to get where you needed to go, but there's still work to be done. And you don't, I know with the restructures and the kind of the funny money with the salary cap, you have some assets at your disposal. You don't enter this offseason and say, all right, we can just throw money at a bunch of people, or we got all these draft picks that we can trade and do all this other kind of stuff. There's going to be a job. It's going to be maybe a harder job than some realize when it comes to what Andrew Berry's going to have to do for the Browns coming up this week. Do we have Jack? We think we're ready to go? He said he might have been having camera issues. Let's see if we got him.
Yeah, I think he's in here, but I don't know if the camera's working.
Jack, Jack,
It's
hey.
always said I've had a face for radio.
It's all good.
Unfortunately, can't get the camera on, but I'm here.
You're here. Jack Duffin joining us. It's all we need. OBR, check him out on Twitter. You can follow him at Jack Duffin. So we have a lot to lay out here, Jack. Let's start overall big picture with the health of the Cleveland Browns entering this offseason. We know we're down picks. Where are we at on the cap space? Moves that need to be made with the restructuring, and really, we're going to go position by position with you on some of the players. But just overall, your outlook on where the Browns sit today as they enter free agency in the offseason.
Yeah, so they're in a really, really good spot, because if we're looking at this roster, no one's really departing. Of no sort of one player probably going to get over $5 million a year leaving as a free agent is a really, really nice position. Every GM would love to only have that, and that's Zadarius Smith. But if you're looking at the cap, if you go to over the cap, you're going to see minus 17 million. I would say probably out of everyone in Cleveland, I'm the least worried about the salary cap, which seems bizarre because that's what I cover. That's my main forte. But they can easily create over 80 million of cap space at the drop of the hat. It all just comes down to, is Jimmy Haslam willing to keep paying 50 million more than league average? And just to put that into some perspective, that's 18% above league average, which is an insane amount of money extra on the budget. And that's why Andrew Berry keeps building great teams, because Jimmy is just throwing money at him.
And explain that real quick, because we know about it, but for the fans, it's that Jimmy Haslam's got to pay this cash. That's the thing of having an owner that has liquid cash, that has a lot of money. That is what affords these restructures, because the players get the money up front, and then Andrew Berry can kind of play with the salary cap. But Jack, that does all start with an owner that's willing to cut checks up front and pay cash on the spot.
Oh, 100%. So effectively what Jimmy Haslam's doing, he's giving Andrew Berry the budget that the Bengals might have in 2 years' time. So the fact that it's not like this massive amount of money he's got to keep paying every year. He's just going, here's what a normal team budget is in 2 years' time. You can have that now. And because the salary cap continues to rise, it's perfectly sustainable. And that's kind of what makes it really frustrating for other teams. It's fun. It's Bengals fans tends to moan at me more than Browns fans about the Browns salary cap, because it's not that sort of thing you control. You can't draft better. You can't do something better. If another team's got 20% more than you in budget, you're probably going to lose to them over the wider time.
Jack Duffin joining us, OBR. How concerned are you without the first-round pick? Now, we have our 2 this year. We've got some other picks. We know GMs, they love getting those picks in, rookie contracts. We talked cap. Are you concerned at all about the Browns' draft assets at this point?
I'm not concerned. I think they just need to find sort of the future wide receiver, the future tackle. They've got one of them pinned down in Dwan Jones, but that's 4 players that long-term, Amari Cooper, he's not a spring chicken. I don't look at any of the other wide receivers and go, hey, they're a 1 or a 2 on the team. That's what they've really got to put the priority in, because you can find a safety in free agency. You can find a linebacker. You can find lots of these different positions. Wide receivers, they don't appear in free agency. They just don't get there. Lots of people are getting excited about like T. Higgins and Michael Pittman. They are not making free agency.
I agree. I'm on the Mike Evans train, but I don't see any way that Tampa's going to let him get out there. And I'm with you, Jack. That's my number one thing this offseason is a receiver. I don't even know if I can go through the draft again. I think I need somebody that's been on an NFL field. You know what you're getting, but to do that, you're going to have to pay. So let's do it now. Your article, which I saw your tweet, the second most read article that you ever put up on OBR. We're going to get that to number 1, and you do the off-season guide and predicting the 2024 roster for the Cleveland Browns. So we are going to go position by position. We start with the quarterbacks and Deshaun Watson. He's the only one with guaranteed money. Jack, I got to ask the question, if it goes bad this year, is there a way out of this deal after the 2024 season if the Browns needed to do it?
So not really, to be my honest answer. I think if he struggles this year, what you probably do is draft a quarterback in the first round in next draft, so the 2025, that first round pick back, and then you probably sit in behind that guy and allow Watson to play out that year as the starter, and then that rookie's ready to take over. And then in that final year, that's where you just find a team to trade him off to. Another team might be going, hey, we'll pay him $30 million. You eat $16 million of that final year. We'll take him on, and you can just do that then. But it's one that, hey, luckily he's giving you around league average. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Jimmy allows us and Andrew Berry to build so much more into the players' contracts and stuff, they're in a great spot. And lots of people are like, oh, he eats $46 million a year of the contract. Jimmy Haslam's giving you over $50 million more than league average. It's not a bad thing. If you're a really poor team and you had that contract, that would cause massive problems. It really doesn't for the Browns.
Well, and especially, and this is just me talking, I want to put you in a bind here, Jack, but if Jimmy's the one that made this decision for Deshaun Watson, he's the one that's got to pay the bill. That's his business and handling it the way that he can. To the other guys, DTR, still on that rookie deal, so we fully expect him back. We asked a question this morning about Joe Flacco because he was on Pardon My Take yesterday, had glowing things, of course, to say about the Browns organization. But, Jack, we both, Ryan and I here on the show, feel like he's not going to come back. He's probably a guy that wants to go play somewhere else. He's probably going to command a little bit more than just an incentive-laden contract like he got here. And then it gets conflicted on, Watson looking over his shoulder, going all in with Watson this season. Your thoughts on Flacco potentially returning to the Browns, or if you had a best guess, what kind of deal do you think Flacco could be looking for out there in the open market?
Yeah, I think he's only probably going to get a couple of mil, but he's probably looking for the opportunity. And if it's one that no one gives him that opportunity, he might say, hey, look, I'm going to just enjoy the off season. I'm going to go play with my kids for 6 months. And then when the best quarterback goes down, they're going to ring me. And then I can step in and do this again. So all the horrible training camp stuff, he can just pass over. Right, yeah. And then the fun stuff starts. He can go, yeah, call me up. And it could easily be one where they chat to him and go, look, go enjoy yourself. There's no point going through all of this. There's a risk with Watson, just style of play, that he'll pick up a knock. When that comes, we'll call you and you can come back. And that might just be the perfect solution for the Browns, that he can come in, compete with DTR for that. Who steps up and replaces Watson if he's going to miss, say, 4 games or 5 games, if he just picks up a knock, which happens, or who knows? It could be any team lose their quarterback, just goes, yeah, Joe will do a job, bring him in.
What about Driscoll real quick? Or I guess even PJ Walker. Like, I assume DTR is going to be your backup. They saw Driscoll. They wanted to get him some game reps to see future of either one of those guys, maybe practice squatters.
Yeah, Driscoll was one I was really high on last offseason. And it's him or Walker. I expect one of them there. And they'll put one of those guys onto the practice squad. Who that might be, I think it's going to be interesting, but I'd expect one of those 2 guys. And either way, people look at them and go, oh, they're not very good. And it's like, look at the practice squad QBs around the league.
Right.
They're actually really good for what they are.
Very.
And it's one that you just want someone there, because the last thing you want when, say, Watson goes down injured, you need to bring someone into the organization. Focus goes away from DTR to making sure the backup's ready if the backup has to go in. And it just works like clockwork. So get a really trusted QB3. You don't pay them much because they're on the practice squad. but it's just peace of mind.
Jack Duffin again, read him on OBR. You check him out on Twitter at Jack Duffin, capologist, roster building, everything. Excited to get into it here. So let's go to the running back position. No guarantee deals, and that scares me, Jack. I've made the comment. I want Nick Chubb with a lifetime deal here. I don't ever want to see him play football anywhere else. And I've had some people, and I think you've even mentioned this too before, that it actually makes sense to sign him to an extension, reduce that number, maybe even restructure. Ford, Pierre Strong, we know Kareem Hunt is an unrestricted free agent. Start, please, with your thoughts on Nick Chubb and then the rest of that running back room.
So with the Nick Chubb, I expect to happen what they did to Conklin a couple of years ago, where they'll take sort of 2/3 of the deal, they'll guarantee it, and then that final third, they'll just find some playtime incentive of if he plays so many games, he gets it all back. If he misses sort of the bulk of next season because maybe something comes up, complication when he starts playing, or he's not ready for the first 4 weeks, then they get a bit of money back, and that just helps budget for a backup or someone you might go sign in free agency. But I think that's kind of the perfect solution because no one knows what he's going to return as. 28 is sort of the age where running back decline tends to start kicking in. But let him play that season and let him work it out. So if I had to guess, I think that's what's going to happen. And that won't happen until probably mid to late Feb. I'd expect that sort of deal to get struck at that point. That's when Conklin's happened. So I think he's going to be back. Who knows? It could be the pup list to begin the season. And the issue is you've got to prepare for all outcomes in March when free agency starts. Lots of people are like, oh, we'll give him training camp and see what happens. And it's like, great. But if he's not good in training camp and he's not going to be ready to go for the season, all the free agents that are decent have already signed. And that's kind of the challenge. You have to prepare for this stuff in March, not in August.
Wide receivers, no guarantees. Same thing, Amari Cooper. I'm not quite to the level of Chubb, but I would like Cooper to stay here. And obviously, we're going to talk Wyatt Teller in a second, too. But, Jack, Cooper was one of those guys that maybe we were conditioned he wasn't going to be here beyond this season. And then all of a sudden, he goes out, has an amazing year. You don't have quite that depth there. Where do you think Amari Cooper's future with the Browns is? A deal, restructure? Where do you think he's at?
So he's certainly back next year. Unless they were to do some deal with like a Mike Evans and someone else and they were bringing in two and then he's the out because you signed two $15 million a year wide receivers, the $20 million a year guy's got to go. But I think that's highly unlikely. If I think he's back, it's the question of what does an extension look like? If an extension only guarantees him money for 2024 and 2025, I think you can get that done. If he wants 3 years of guaranteed, I don't think you can do it just because what would he be, 32 going into that third guaranteed year? So it's kind of risky. Whereas if it's 2 years guaranteed, I think that works. Slight pay rise in there. I would say that's where you want to nail that down and you can bring him back. He's then got 2 more years where he knows he's getting paid. And who knows, after that, you do it a year at a time because if he's 32, 33, you don't know what you've got.
We've mentioned free agent possibility, but certainly drafting some of the receivers. That's the number one position for both of us here, talking about the Browns with wideouts. Tight ends, just quick. Njoku's deal looks pretty good. Obviously, I think tight ends are going to get some more pay raises coming up here with some of the big names, so he looks pretty good. Harrison Bryant moving on. Jordan Aiken's still here. Draft a guy to kind of take that Harrison Bryant role. Just real quick, Jack, any chance maybe Harrison comes back on a low-level deal, 2-3 years, couple million?
I think Aikens is definitely gone. I would certainly look to bring Harrison Bryant back. There's a technique they can use. It's the 4-year qualifying contract, which effectively a player that's been here for 4 years or more, they can pay him sort of 1.2, 1.3 million, and he actually gets 2.6 mil. They're using it for Taki this year. I think that's a perfect one they could flip to Harrison Bryant. He's just a utility guy that's useful. And if you want to draft a guy, you can't rely on that rookie to be tight end 2 next year, but you can bring them in and stash them. The other guy I would love to, Mike Gesicki. He's always a guy I've loved. Yeah. Not done much in New England, but bring him in and just see what that athletic freak can do.
I'm all for that. All right, tackle. We got 3. We really only need 2. We all assume DeJuan Jones will start, but you got 2 guaranteed guys on Wills and Conklin. Jack Duffin, I kneel before you save me from this because I feel like there's just wasted money right now at that tackle position. Conklin, they're both coming off injury, actually. We know up and down with Jed Wills throughout his career. Jack, bail me out here and save me from this tackle money pit that they're in right now.
For me, I bring them all back next year. And the reason I do that is I don't have any real concerns about Will's health. Whereas the other two, Conklin, who knows how many weeks you can get out of him. And there's always a chance with Jones. He is so physically big. Chance of injury is higher than a Joe Thomas sort of build of tackle. So just because of the element of risk, let's have 3 and we'll roll with that into the season. Draft a guy. I'm happy for that second round pick to basically be a wide receiver or a tackle. That's my big priority. And then let's roll through this year and get a real sense for where we stand. With the idea that if someone else loses a tackle, they can pick up the phone and offer us a nice little trade for Conklin. We'll eat half the deal. You take the rest on and we'll ship him over. But I would rather operate from the position of strength, because the last thing you want to do, you go into the season with Jones at left tackle, Conklin at right, you're in week 4 and both of them are out injured. That is a very real risk. So I would rather, why it's tempting to free up the money, I'm happy to just kind of like, let's take all 3 for 1 year and we'll kind of work it out.
Would you then start the 2 guys making the money? Because that'd be hard pill to swallow to say you got a guy making $10, $13, $14 million sitting on the bench. But then people, obviously we saw what DeJuan Jones was able to do this year. People want him to start. But would you start Wills and Conklin just because they're making the money?
I wouldn't really mind, if I'm honest. I would happily leave Conklin as a swing. And it's one that kind of just let the coaches decide. I know it's tempting, as you said, to put the pressure on them and go, you're paying this guy, do that. But it just allows Jones to come on at his own pace. But yeah, it's one that let's see how they do in camp. And Conklin's not really going to need any time in camp, so Jones can take all of that preseason work and really get up to speed either way. But yeah, I think the key one is you got to draft someone to ideally be the pair with Jones in a year's time.
To the inside, we go to the guards. Teller, a guy like Cooper. We were just, okay, after this year, they can move on, the money. He went out, and I think he should have been All-Pro. I was shocked when he didn't make second-team All-Pro. Is Teller going to be here? We know Bitonio said he's going to come back. He is older. He did fight through some injuries. Talk about the guards, Jack. I don't really want to live in a world that Wyatt Teller's not playing guard for my football team. Do you think that is at all a possibility?
So the 2 guards are the 2 guys on the O-line without any guarantees. I came into this season and said, hey, you just keep Joel Bitonio for as long as he wants to play. He will tell the front office at some point and go, this is my last season, I'm out. There's that good relationship there. And yeah, as you said, the interviews very much sound like he wants to come back, he plans to come back. Right guard, Wyatt Teller, going into this season, I was like, it's done. This is it. Final season, enjoy it. We've kind of had the first half of the season's been all pro. The second half of the season's been average. And it's like, well, what are you getting? And 1 year there was an injury knock in there, but another year it wasn't. So it was the fear of like, how stable is it? Can he do it for a whole season? And he's had such a good year. He hasn't really hit the top of the leagues and looked like a world beater for like a 6-8 week stretch, but he's always looked really solid. And that's been an upgrade. So I think you can keep it together. The issue is if you want to go out and you want to chase, say, a Marquise Brown at wide receiver or throw 10 million at wide receiver, it's probably coming from Wyatt Teller's money. So it very much comes down to that decision. And it's kind of the key thing with the salary cap. It's very much an either or. Do you want to go and invest in wide receiver? That's great. Where's that money coming from? It's Wyatt Teller. And then it's that decision. So it's a tough one they've got to make, but that's effectively the best way. Opportunity cost. That's what the salary cap and roster building is.
Center, we're good on Ethan Posick. That deal seems to be just fine for how well he played this year. Again, little injury in there, but he's just fine. We flip over to the defensive side of things. Obo Okoronkwo with guarantees. Myles Garrett will be here. He's got no guarantees. But the rest of those guys, you talked about Za'Darius Smith. Jack, that's just another position. I've just been asking for somebody to run with Myles Garrett. We just need that other edge guy. And that has been the one position that they have just continued to address in free agency. Andrew Berry, as we know, has been this wizard of the one-year veteran deals at linebacker, a couple other guys safety-wise. But that other DN just kind of rolled through with Jadeveon Clowney, started with Olivier Vernon. Now they're running through with Za'Darius Smith. How are you viewing that defensive edge position there opposite of Myles Garrett?
So where I just spoke about sort of wide receivers and guards, you've got Za'Darius Smith and JOK is probably the perfect pairing here to talk about because they have never really spent much at linebacker. They've had like 6 linebackers signed and total between all of them is less than 10 million. So I think they're on like 7.8 million is the average over 4 years they spend on the entire linebacker room. And JOK is going to get more than that by himself. And then that question comes from, well, where does that, say, 10 million that JOK is going to cost come from? Zadarius Smith is probably the most obvious destination for where you free and move that money up. If you'd have asked me 2/3 of the way through the season, I was like, you've got to bring him back. Okoronkwo's good, but that's it. Whereas I've been really impressed with this final third of the season from Alex Wright. I don't think you're going to get him step up and you're going to say, hey, he's the guy opposite. He's the Batman and Robin to Myles Garrett. But if you were to go out and you find, similar to Okoronkwo, find an edge in that sort of 3, 4, 5 million range, a solid vet that knows what they're doing, you can build that really nice rotation. Myles Garrett gets 80%, Okoronkwo maybe 60%, Wright and this free agent both get 50%, and it just works it all around. I think that's definitely a vision for where they could go. But I certainly see a world where they give Zadarius Smith $12 million a year and they bring him back. But it comes down to that. Well, if that's the case, where's the money coming for JOK? I don't know that answer. And it's the most obvious place to still move that money across.
D-tackle Tomlinson still here. Siaki Ika, who really had a bit of a rough rookie year, never got to the field. He's going to still be here as well. But Shelby Harris, Mo Hurst, Jordan Elliott, all unrestricted free agents. Any of those guys you think potentially coming back, or is that another thing, couple one-year deals, throw out to some veterans to get some D-tackles in here?
I think it's always going to be one-year deals there. And I personally, I like that.
Yeah.
The room split was very much Tomlinson played 60%. The other 3 guys all played 40% of snaps. Just because they mix some guys inside for the rest of the other 20%. But it's one, I would bring back Harris and I'd bring back Hurst. I think Hurst is going to be pretty cheap after the injury. It was trending towards that. If he's healthy all year and he keeps playing like this, it's like, can you afford him? Similar to the Taki and Walker a year ago, that if both of those two were healthy for the whole of last season, we probably don't actually afford them this year. And Hurst, it was a way, he was playing himself into a bigger deal than the Browns would have probably given him. Yeah, he's got injured, and I think he's back. I'm happy to move on from Jordan Elliott. I would bring in another free agent there. I don't want to promote Ika, because that's another one where you've got to decide in March when you're talking to free agents. Do you bring in 3 free agents and then Ika's your 5th game day inactive and continuing to build and get ready for the chance he gets? Or do you say, we want to prepare for Ika to be part of that rotation? We're not going to go and get someone and guarantee some money because they're going to be DT5. And that's the challenge. When you're building a team, you have to make those decisions in March. They're not, let's see everyone at training camp and decide, because this roster's loaded. So I think, yeah, bring back Hurst, bring back Harris, and then let's look at the other free agents and maybe wangle someone else that wants to get 1-2 mil, just come in, and they can see this D-line's loaded. Come here, do 1 year, get some money elsewhere, and good luck to you.
You mentioned Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah a couple of times. Jack Duffin joining us, OBR, cap, space, all of it, draft. We got it all here with Jack. Great stuff. So with Jeremiah, I mean, Jack, it's got to be, you drafted this guy, you developed this guy, you got to pay this guy. I mean, that's what GMs love to do. That's one of their biggest marks on saying when they found somebody, they developed him into the player that they assumed they were going to be, and you get him paid. The thing is, you've mentioned kind of where the money is going to come from. Is it like a requirement? I know you don't want to go into your lame duck last year of his rookie deal. You don't want that necessarily. What do you think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah might get in an extension, and do you feel like it is required to do it this offseason coming up?
So the earlier you pay a guy, generally it's cheaper, just because the markets continue to move. So Andrew Berry's spoken about this, and lots of the Howie Roseman at the Eagles identify pay early, because if you wait a year and then he has a really good year, it's like $1 million extra for waiting and $1 million extra for he's played even better. So it just prices you out. And it gives the player the power to go, oh, I'll test free agency then, just because that then pushes the price up even more, because players naturally get overpaid in free agency. So it's one that I would pay him. I think it's understanding what he does. So he's on a lot of highlight plays, and they're not just our highlights, because he's asked to jump really early and shoot that gap and go for the tackle and the loss, which at times then opens up and there's touchdowns that get conceded because of his aggressive play. The fact that this is such a good defense, that's a risk you're willing to take, and overall it's a massive benefit. If he was to be on like the old Browns defenses where we were getting smashed, he would look like a horrendous player just because he's trying to shoot for these opportunities, maybe gets blocked up in the D-line and it's a bit of a mess. So it's how does it work in terms of the number? I think 10 million sort of the line. It should probably be just under that. But get that deal done, 3-year contract, guarantee the first 2 years of it. So he's here for at least the next 3 seasons. And then in that final year, maybe it's 10 million and they make a decision on that stage. But it's one that there was a really weird part in the middle of the season when Schwartz dropped him to about 60% of snaps per game.
Yeah.
No injuries, no nothing. And it was just like, that was the point. I'm like, they're not going to extend this guy. You're not going to pay a guy that is rotating off the field third of the snaps. It's like, what are we doing here? But then he's come up and he actually, in the playoff game, it's the first ever time he's had 100% of snaps in a game. So that was there for him. And he's had 6 career games where he's played 90% or more. So he's trending in that direction. And I think he's a valuable piece. You do get extended, and I expect that to happen this offseason.
To the corners, Ward paid up. Emerson not extension eligible yet. Greg Newsome. And I was unfairly, I think, maybe really upset at Greg Newsome on Monday. He's a guy some people have a really high opinion of. Other people think they missed in the first round. We know where we stand. They got to pick up the 5th-year option this offseason if they're going to do it. Do you expect them to do that, Jack, or do you think that Greg Newsome's time in Cleveland is a ticking clock?
So they've got until the 2nd of May to make that decision. And it was pretty clear how they felt with him in that final playoff game. So he's played 86% of snaps in the games where he's been healthy this season, removing the 2 that he was inactive. He played, I think it was 58% off the top of my head in that game. So they were taking him off the field because they obviously weren't happy with what they were seeing. And I just think high 12 millions for a slot corner. I'm like, that's just not a good amount of money to invest at that position. And so that's not what he's getting paid for 2024. It's the 2025 year right. You're picking it up because you have to pick it up now. I think you've got to explore the trade market. If you can get a pick in that 50 to 80 range, which I think you probably can, trade him and get it done. And people say, oh, just wait a year and then trade him. The issue is, if you're trading him to a team and you're sending him there and it's, say, going to cost 15 million for 2 years, they're like, that's a really interesting contract. We'll take that on. If they're trading for, say, 13 million for 1 year, they're a lot less interested in taking on that right. player. So you might end up with a 6th then rather than a high 3rd. So I think make the trade. Cam Mitchell looks good. And then by all means, use that pick and draft another corner. Mm-hmm. There's no harm in doing that, and you just throw more people into the rotation. But progression on, and hey, they've got a lot of good corners. Halassi's looked okay. They're in a really, really nice spot. So I don't fear moving on from him. They can't pay everyone. And anytime you don't want 3 corners all on big deals. It's just, it gets a bit messy then.
Safety's probably the best position I feel about, Jack. Thornhill signed up, Delpit signed up, and I know both those guys battled injuries. I'm a big Grant Delpit fan. Thornhill, I believe, has better football ahead of him. And you feel good about your backups with D'Anthony Bell and Ronnie Hickman. Rodney McLeod, an unrestricted free agent now. Whether or not he wants to come back on a 1-year low-level deal, I don't even know if they necessarily need him anymore, but safety is probably the best position of all of them, right?
Yeah, it was a disaster a year ago, and they've absolutely smashed it. And this was another one that was weird. It was like, when McLeod went down, they went from playing quite a lot of 3 safety sets to they literally just abandoned it. And they didn't play Hickman, they didn't play Bell. And then it was the game where Thornhill, he was active, but then he got injured just before the game. And I don't remember where it was late in the season where they just threw Hickman out there. It was like, had no advance warning he was going to play. And he was great. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really exciting that they've got those 2 there. This is probably Thornhill's last year. So I expect them to investigate and probably draft a free safety that in a year's time we're talking about, is it Hickman? Is it that free safety that's going to start in 2025? But that, again, that money there that Thornhill leaving, that frees up. Let's pay Martin Emerson. Step up, next man up, and you just transition that money around the roster.
Final thing, Jack, so gracious with your time. Is the specialist Hopkins, Hewlett, or good? Bajorquez unrestricted. You think they have to bring Corey Bajorquez back and they find somebody else? And are we talking about a maybe long-term extension here with Dustin Hopkins?
Yeah, I think you bring back Bojo. I think he's been fantastic. And all of the people wanted to sort of run him out of Cleveland last year because his holding was destroying the Cleveland Browns. And it just turns out it's not. So it's one that I expect him to get done. He knows he might get a tasty offer elsewhere, and then they would look to bring someone else in. But I think they can work that deal. I wouldn't touch Hopkins' contract. He's got another year under, and you just never know with kickers. Unless you've got Justin Tucker, who even he went through a couple of wobbly spells, you'd rather just let him see out this final year and then just keep signing him to like 1-year deals until it all falls apart. So, I don't rush to pay him. The last thing you want to do is you extend him, give him 2 years guaranteed, and then 6 games in, it's like, he looks more like Cade York than Dustin Hopkins with no.
I don't want that.
Because there will be a bit of regression.
Right.
He was insane last season.
Yeah.
I was clearing so much money on betting props. I was just constantly, week on week, betting kicking points. Which is a degenerate place I never thought I'd be.
Hey, man,
it's
only
profitable.
degenerate if you lose, Jack. You're winning. That's smart business is what that is.
No, I made a nice sum on that.
There
so
you go.
I
That's
cannot
all we
complain.
need. Nice sum on that.
Jack, just real quick, going back to that wide receiver room, you mentioned a name like Marquise Brown, who I think you said would command around like $8 million. I mean, if you're giving Amari Cooper that $20 million, you got to imagine Mike Evans isn't realistic there. I imagine T. Higgins the same would get that paid, even though I think he's going to get franchise tagged. Is there any other names that you're looking out for this receiver room to the Browns?
I'll pull some up. So Mike Evans, I think, could be in play if you moved on from White Teller.
Okay.
Oh,
be
no,
what
I
it'd
don't
take.
know. I want Mike
now
Evans,
Matt's-
but I don't want White Teller to leave. That is my hell, Jack. No.
And so that's the kind of conundrum. But in all honesty, if I'm looking at Mike Evans, I think he goes somewhere sunny.
Okay.
But some
It's a
guys to
beautiful,
throw out there.
Jack. We got 8 inches of snow last night. It's beautiful in Cleveland this time of the year. Mike Evans will love it here.
Yeah, you just got to fool him. Take him to Miami and be like, this is Cleveland.
There you go. Exactly.
Get your shorts on. But some guys, KJ Osborne, Marquise Brown, Gabriel Davis, Tyler Boyd, Darnell Mooney, DJ Shark, someone like that.
Okay.
That you can bring in that sort of 1-year deal, give them some incentives. You've got then a loaded trio of Cooper, that free agent, Elijah Moore. You've got Bell, you've got Tillman, bring in a rookie. That's 6 guys, and you can just say, work it out. No one is guaranteed to be here in 2025. Go play, and you guys can decide who's going to get the money, what's going to happen, because it's just nice to have options. In all honesty, with all the injuries we suffered this year, if Amari Cooper goes out at any point of that season, we're not in the playoffs.
Right.
That, for me, was the most important one because it just elevates the wide receiver. The wide receiver play elevates the quarterback so much.
Jack, we so appreciate your time, man. I love reading it. Jack Duffin on Twitter, Capologist, everything that you need at the OBR. It's the best, man. Appreciate you going through all of it with us. I'm sure we'll have you again as soon as we get closer to free agency as this kind of all shakes out. Always appreciate it. Have a fantastic weekend, bro.
Thanks so much. My free agency stuff will start on the 1st of Feb.
There you go.
So I'm doing what I did last year. All 600 plus unrestricted free agents, writing on all of them, and I whittled down the list. And the list was mad last year.
Oh,
It
God.
was like, I put a list out, and it was like every single Andrew Berry signing was basically on this list. And it was just
how
nuts.
you got put on the mark, Jack. Everybody goes, wait a minute. Tell everybody that's what everybody thought you were Andrew Berry's burner account.
Yeah,
You were
I was
hitting
accused of being Andrew
Yep.
Berry's burner. And
Yep,
it's like,
there it
he's
is.
putting on this fake British accent just to jump on like spaces and stuff and chat Browns. But,
Well, you never break it, so that's why I know it's true. So as good as Andrew Berry might be, or you may be a paid actor and Andrew Berry's sitting right next to you just telling you what to say. I don't know that. I mean, maybe that's why the camera didn't work this morning. We'll figure it out. Jack, great stuff. So we'll have to have you on in a couple weeks, man, when that starts kicking off for free agency, all right?
100%. Speak then.
Appreciate it. There you go. It's Jack Duffin joining us. Wow. A lot of good stuff with Jack. That's
Matt,
well worth it for Browns
Matt,
fans.
I gotta get your answer on this.
I would take Mike Evans over Wyatt Teller.
There it is. There it is.
I would do it.
Okay.
Oh my God, I don't want that. I don't want that world, but I gotta tell you, I would take Mike Evans over White. If that damn it. Can I give him Jed Wills instead? Come on. It's literally my hell. That would literally be my hell. I want Wyatt Teller back here, but if it came at the price of Mike Evans, and I'm kind of going to subscribe to what Jack said. There's so many things to unpack. Great stuff with Jack. Good half hour with him. But, like, if I had... I'm just going to subscribe that Mike Evans is not going to come here. Like, to Jack's point, I think he's going to get paid. I think he might want to go elsewhere. But the thing is, for the Browns, like, they finally are to a destination where, yeah, you'd be like, you know what? I do want to go play there. The thing is, it's Deshaun Watson. There's so many unknowns with Watson. If Watson had the year Joe Flacco had, Mike Evans would be on the doorstep. Not today, because he's got a game to play tomorrow. He'd be on the doorstep at 76 Lou Groza Boulevard asking to come play for the Cleveland Browns. You'd have a lot of these guys doing that if Watson had the year Flacco did, but he didn't. So here we are. Other positions, I thought it was super interesting how he said just bring back Wills, Conklin, and DeJuan Jones. He's not wrong in the thinking, I kind of subscribe to what he's saying. You're more than likely going to have one of those guys get injured. The thing is, that's going to be one of those things about the organization. There's such a conversation to be had here about this. The organization basically standing up and telling the fan base, shut the hell up. Okay? And I don't mean that literally. I don't want Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta standing at a dais going, shut up. But what I'm saying is, the fans, we get all rabid and we say, okay, we got to do this and we got to do that. We got to make all these moves. But if the smart move for the Cleveland Browns is to play Jack Conklin and Jed Wills and sit DeJuan Jones, no matter how much the fans bitch and moan about it, for them to stand up and say, shut up, we know what we're doing here. That's what's going to have to happen with that. And the thing is, it comes from a strength where if they did that move, I tell you this, Ryan, I would have faith in Andrew Berry that that's the right thing to do. Right? You would believe that he is making the right move. So I am conditioned to say, okay, free this money up. If you can't free it up, if nobody's going to make these trades for these guys, you're not going to let them walk with all that money. You bring them back. So if that's the thing, if that's what they're going to have to do with that tackle position, then so be it. So I thought that was super interesting where you said, no, you're probably going to bring back Wills and Conklin. And you sit DeJuan Jones. I mean, at the end of the day, too, you'd say, dude, he's still a second-year guy. There's still a lot of work that we're going to do. He's going to play. He's going to be backup. But I also worry, like, dude, wouldn't that be just the gut punch to DeJuan Jones? Like, dude, you played your ass off, man. You played so well, but you're going back to be a backup.
Yeah, one question I didn't get the chance to ask, I didn't think about it, was at the linebacker position. We all know what's going on with JOK. Obviously, he's going to have to get that extension, but both our Mikes are free agents in Taki and Anthony Walker.
Unrestricted.
And I got to wonder if they're gonna try and pick up both those. I mean, Anthony Walker, obviously the captain, he's dealt with injuries, of course, but then Taki came back from injury, and the last half of the season, he played pretty well.
I'm more interested in Tak than I am. And here's the thing. I love Anthony Walker. He is a really good dude. He is a leader on that team. And maybe there are dollars that matter for leadership. And there is a dollar amount that they will put on a locker room guy like Awok. It would be nothing more than, again, that 1-year deal. I think it'd be his 4th in a row 1-year deal with the Browns. I'd really like Sione Taki to come back. And then, find another linebacker out there. You piece one together. I think that is certainly the case. And then, he mentioned Greg Newsome's the trade. I think that's kind of where we're trending right now. You have your 2 good corners. It's not wise to invest all that money. And I would think, as Jack said, 50 to 80 pick, you're talking about 2nd to 3rd round type of pick area there. I'd tell you this right now, and this isn't me trying to knock Greg Newsome or anything like that. Somebody offers me a 3rd round pick for him, I'm taking him.
I am as well.
I'm taking that. I am. Well. I think you have your 2 starters in that. You've seen a lot of Cam Mitchell play the slot. I would take that move, and I'm sure Andrew Berry's going to be burning up the phone. And then again, maybe that's a little bit more money that you can play with some other guys.
And Berry's had success drafting these DBs.
What did we say?
Yeah.
We were talking the other day about maybe some blind spots. They don't have a problem drafting DBs. Browns do not have that problem drafting DBs. So you just find that other one. Other positions, though, I feel really good. I feel good. And obviously Jack knows a lot more than we do, and it's great to learn from him and get the insight there. Browns roster is solid. And again, they play with the salary cap. As long as the Hasms are willing to spend the money like they are, you're going to keep in the state of flow is the way I kind of want to look at it.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting talking about the D tackle position. Obviously, Tomlinson's guaranteed that money. He's going to be here for another year. And then you got Ika, obviously, coming into his second year.
I don't want to say a lost, pick,
Yeah,
but I'm going to wait some time to see.
But it was interesting. You go look at the three unrestricted free agents. Shelby Harris, he said he thinks going to come back. But then you got to kind of pick between Maurice Hurst and Jordan Elliott. It'll be interesting because you can get Maurice Hurst cheaper due to his injuries. But Jordan Elliott, can't forget, he's a draft pick, and Andrew Berry loves his draft picks.
But also a draft pick that they came to and said, you're going to take a little less money. Like, you're going to restructure this. So I think he could be out. And also Harrison Bryant coming back. I didn't know about that fourth-year thing that he mentioned, that you could get them more money as kind of retaining a guy that had been there for a couple of years. Dude, if you missed that, go back. Just get it on the stream with us. Jack was awesome. Yeah, great stuff with incredible. Him. Follow him on Twitter at Jack Duffin from the OBR. Amazing stuff there. All right, let's do this. Catch our breaks. I want to tell everybody about Tipico because we are going to place our NFL bets for this weekend, and we will get a boosted parlay up for all 4 games. Ryan and I got our NFL picks presented by Tipico. We got them next. Fontana Show right here on Big Play. Get to it, our picks with Tipico, folks. So here's how it's going to work. Cavs are in action tomorrow, so we'll announce a boost for tomorrow. But we're going to get to our NFL slate of games, 4 of them. We will make our selection. Ryan, here's what I want to do, okay? You ready for this? You and I are going to go through our 4 games this weekend and make our picks. If we happen to agree on the game, that will be the entry to our parlay. So we're going to parlay all 4 games in this. We're going to do all 4 games for this with Tipico. And if we happen to agree, we're in. If we need to have a further discussion, we will. Folks, it's all brought to you by Tipico. You see it right here on my phone. I love it. The Face ID, and I'm in. Wait a minute. No! Who lost last night? Those damn Kings! Damn it!
We are ice cold. We are ice cold.
Stop that. Are you serious? Come on,
We
man.
should just start betting money line of every team the Cavs play.
Stop. Ice cold on the parlays right now. But here's what you do, folks. Go to Tipico. Use that code Fontana100 when you sign up. What you do, you deposit and bet $25 on whatever you want. We're entering Fade Padone era here. And when you deposit and bet that $25 with that code Fontana100, you will get $100 in bonus bets to use on whatever you want. We're entering the prime time NFL playoffs. You want to bet the Super Bowl coming up, the Masters are around the corner. We got it all for you with Tipico. Sign up today using that code Fontana100. So let's recap last week. 5 games. I am below 500, Ryan. I went 2-3 last week. You went 3-2. We had all opposite picks. So I won on Kansas City. You lost on Miami. I lost on Pittsburgh. You won on Buffalo. I won on Green Bay. You lost on Dallas. I lost on Detroit because they did not cover. They won, but they did not cover. So you went on the Rams, and I lost bad on those stinking Eagles. And you won there on Tampa Bay. So on the season, I'm very upset to say, I am now below 500. I am 114, 115, and 8. Ryan is 125 and 104 and 8.
I can rock with that.
So you are guaranteed to have an above 500 record for the football season. So here we go. We start 4:30 tomorrow. The Houston Texans traveling to take on the Baltimore Ravens. This is a 9.5-point spread, Ryan. A very large one here for the divisional round. We know, of course, Baltimore got to sit at home for the week, gearing up for C.J. Stroud and the crew. Public money is 60-40 on the side of the Houston Texans, which is interesting. So again, Ravens minus 9.5 is what I have it on Tipico. Can I get you some trends on this one? Here we go. We start. Houston comes in 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games. Of course, 4-1 straight up in their last 5. They're very impressive, Ryan, that they are 8-3 against the spread in their last 11 games on the road. Now, this is historical. They don't play Baltimore that well. Houston is just 2-4 against the spread their last 6 games against the Ravens and 2-11 straight up in their last 13 games against Baltimore. Houston is on a 7-game losing streak at M&T Bank Stadium, which is a little crazy. You flip it over for the Baltimore Ravens. 5-2 against the spread their last 7. 6-1 straight up in their last 7. As I mentioned, they have beat the Houston Texans their last 7 games. They're at M&T Bank. For the Saturday game, Baltimore is just 1-4 against the spread their last 5 games on Saturday. And I was trying to look this up because obviously we played them. Did Baltimore play them this year?
They played week 1 and Baltimore won.
That's right. That is right. I knew they did. So I've got it at 9.5. I got to go with what I see, right? I want to so badly take Houston. That's a giant number, Ryan. I've been sleeping on Baltimore all year, and I will go with the Baltimore Ravens to win by 10.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth on this one, but I'm going to ride with you as well.
Okay.
I mean, it's tough. You go look back. Remember that 2019 season, Matt? Lamar's MVP. They were the 1 seed, and they were a heavy favorite. I think maybe the exact same amount as they are at Houston against that Tennessee Titans team. And what happened? They lost. They had to bye in the first round just like they did this year, and they dropped that game. But I'm still going to roll with the Baltimore Ravens here. I think they're a much better team. It's still a rookie quarterback and head coach. I know it sounds crazy to see what they did last week, but as you get deeper in the playoffs, you tend to get exposed more. So I'll go with the Ravens.
All right, we go to the night game tomorrow at Levi Stadium. The 49ers welcoming in Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Yet again, 9.5-point spread for the home favorite 49ers. Public money on this game, 50-50, Ryan. It is split down the middle. Let's jump into the trends. Green Bay 6-3 against the spread their last 9 games, 4-1 straight up in their last 5. Now, against San Francisco, 2-4 against the spread their last 6 games against San Francisco. I got a good play for the over in this game, by the way, which I kind of like. Over-under set at a high 50, but the trends tell you over for Green Bay. You flip it over for San Francisco. They are 7-2 straight up in their last 9 games, but here's a weird thing. They've not covered in their last 5 home games. San Francisco, 7-0 straight up in their last 7 games when played on a Saturday. It is 9.5 for the San Francisco 49ers. Ryan, your pick, please.
I don't want to go with too heavy favorites here, but I'm having trouble trying to fight that. It kind of sounds nuts to go against Green Bay after what they just did in Dallas, given that Dallas was 16-0 at home. But I mean, San Francisco's a different animal. We said it last week. Green Bay's so young. There's really no substitute for that deep a playoff experience. I'm going to roll with the 49ers here.
Do you want to go back and change our Baltimore picks? Because we're both going to go with San Francisco here.
That's one of the reasons I almost went Houston, because I was like, I don't really want to bet 2 that big of spreads. So I was a little bit conflicted.
Leave it up to you. Do you want to go back and flip it to Houston? Let's talk.
I'll put it this way. I'm much more confident in San Fran covering that spread than I am Baltimore.
Do you want to maybe do an alternate spread?
Yeah, let's
get to the parlay. We'll do the parlay in a second. So hold on to that. So all right. So we'll both go San Francisco there, minus that 9.5. We get to Sunday, 3 o'clock. Tampa Bay taking on Detroit. Baker Mayfield and the crew heading up to Ford Field. This is a 6.5-point spread on the side of the Detroit Lions in this game. Public money on this game, also 50-50. Let's start with our trends here, Tampa Bay and Detroit. I will start with Tampa Bay as the road team. They are 5-1 against the spread their last 6 games, 6-1 straight up in their last 7, but they're only 4-11 against the spread their last 15 games against Detroit. Tampa, an impressive 8-1 against the spread their last 9 games on the road, and they are 7-2 straight up in their last 9 when they play at Ford Field. You flip it over for Detroit, 4-1 against the spread their last 5, 4-1 straight up in their last 5. Detroit is 7-1 straight up in their last 8 games at home. And I mentioned they don't play Tampa all that well, just 1-4 against the spread their last 5 games at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 6 for Detroit.
Don't overthink it.
Detroit.
I'm rolling with Detroit too. I don't know if you saw this, Matt, but it came out that Baker called his old teammates from the Rams and kind of asked him about Ford Field, and they said it was one of the loudest places
that they have
and
played.
It came out,
I didn't see that.
and it came out that that crowd was the fourth loudest in NFL history.
Yep.
And this is going to be their last home game of the season, most likely, assuming that San Fran wins, which they should. So I expect it to be even louder.
All right, final game, marquee game, the Detroit, what am I saying? The Buffalo Bills welcoming in the Kansas City Chiefs, a customary 3-point home favorite on the side of the Buffalo Bills. Yet again, Ryan, 50-50 on the public money, split straight down the middle. So let's start Kansas City on the road here. They are 4-1 straight up in their last 5, 10-2 straight up in their last 12 games on the road. They are also 4-1 against the spread their last 5 games in the month of January. You flip it over for Buffalo, 4-2 against the spread their last 6, 6-0 on their 6-game win streak, 6-1 straight up in their last 7 games at home. And of course, these teams did meet with Kansas City falling to Buffalo 20-17 back on December 10th. I feel semi-confident in my pick on this one, but I will let you go first. Bills -3 at home.
Yeah, man, I can see the tweets now. It's either going to go one or two ways. It's going to be one, Josh Allen isn't that good to carry his team further than the AFC Championship, or flip it over, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes can't win a playoff game on the road. It's going to be one of those two. I'm taking the Chiefs here. I know Bills are red hot, but the Chiefs are still the Super Bowl champions. It's going to be tough on the road, but I kind of think Kansas City matches up well. That weather shouldn't affect them like it did. They're used to the cold temperatures there in Kansas City. I'm going to roll with the Chiefs to go
I
to
am locking in the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, let's do it then.
All right,
Let's
so
do
we're
it.
locked in there. So we are the same on all of our picks. Baltimore, San Francisco, Detroit, and Kansas City.
Quite the flip.
3 favorites, 1 dog in there. Let's get to our parlay with Tipico. We're going to build this right now. So we do start Chiefs +3. Or do you want to take Chiefs money line here?
No, let's do it.
Let's take the points. Chiefs +3. So that's our leg. The Buccaneers Lions, 6.5, over under is 49. Do you want to just take the Lions to win, or do you like them to cover that 6.5? I kind of like them to cover.
Let's get crazy. Let's cover.
All right, here are the games I think we're going to struggle. Packers 49ers. We both like the 49ers. Do you like them with that 10? Do you like the over at 50.5?
I like the 10.
You like them
9.5
minus
on
the
Tipico.
10? All right. Texans, Ravens. What do you want to do? Ravens money line cop out?
Yeah, we're already going to be
We're
pretty
already
boosted.
+575. So if you add that, we're at +725 for a 4-leg parlay that they'll boost up for us. You like that?
Yeah, I do.
All right. 49ers -9.5, Chiefs +3, Ravens money line, Lions -6.5. That comes out to +725. Folks, don't forget about the flex. Dude, I love
This is
this
a perfect
flex parlay.
opportunity.
This is perfect. All right, if I go 3 legs, that's still even money, man. That's +101 if I just do 3 out of those 4 things
Which one
to
would
hit.
you flex?
It doesn't matter. Any 3 of them can hit.
No.
If I add, that's why I love the flex parlay for Tipico.
Oh,
man.
you don't have to
as
pick
long
one?
As, no.
Oh, wow.
As long as 3 out of the 4 hit with the flex parlay, I cash.
Wow.
It doesn't matter which of the 3. I love this, dude. This flex parlay is the cat's rear end, man. This is great.
Cat's pajamas?
Yes. Dude, I like that. Just all I need is 3 or more to hit. Doesn't matter which one.
Wow.
I love it. I'm going to hold off. I'm going to do our boost. So here's what we're going to do. We'll send this over to Tipico. They're going to get that boosted up. We'll send it out from the show. Did you? Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. I love it. I love it very much there. So there's our picks for the weekend. Get signed up with Tipico. Use that code Fontana100. The rewards, the flex parlay. This is the weekend to get going with Tipico, folks. I love it. It is so great. I am salivating over that flex parlay.
Matt, what's your favorite Super Bowl food?
Wings. Forever and always.
Okay.
Wings. I love chicken wings. They are just, you can't beat them.
Over Buffalo Chicken Dip?
BCD is pretty good. BCD, Buffalo Chicken Dip, is very good. BCD is very good.
I've never heard that.
You never? Spin Art Dip is very good too.
There's no way anybody in the world ever said BCD besides you.
Oh, no way. I'm in text groups with my brothers. And
that's a common
it's an acronym
acronym?
for us anyway. I don't know if it is for anybody else, but BCD, Buffalo Chicken Dip, is absolutely amazing. Just like Time Hop, we'll get to that when we return. We'll head back this day in history. Did you see my tweet this morning about it? Good.
I did, but I didn't. I just saw the GIF.
Okay.
I don't even know if I recognize it.
All right, fair enough. We'll get to that coming up. We got movies, we got things in history. We'll get back into our betting for the Cavs tomorrow night as well. Lot coming up. Stay with us. Fontana Show right here on Big Play. All right, let's jump into Time Hop. We'll tell you what happened this day in history on the 19th of January. Let's fly on through it because we got to get to the Cavs. They're in action tomorrow. We'll do a little bit of... Oh, can't really do a boost yet because the game's not out. Or the game's tomorrow, and they, NBA is a little bit different. So we'll get to that. We'll remind everybody of our playoff boost, and we'll want to revisit what Joe Flacco had to say because it's getting all the run right now on social media. But first, we get to Time Hop, including 7 years ago this day, 2017, the Browns signed Jamie Collins to a contract extension. He stole some money from the Cleveland Browns, but it is what it is. This day, 2016, for the second time, the Browns interviewed Ray Horton for their defensive coordinator position and made it clear that they wanted him to come back. 2 different stints with the Cleveland Browns there for Ray Horton. Do you remember when Tiger Woods got his tooth knocked out? No? It happened this day, 2015. He was dating Lindsey Vonn, and they were at an event, and a camera person hit his tooth with the camera, and it popped out.
I thought you were going to say she punched him.
No, I mean, that would kind of be on course there for Tiger Woods.
On course?
Yeah, you see what I did there? Yeah, thank you very much. This day, 2005, LeBron became the youngest player in NBA history to record a triple-double. He did a 27, 11, and 10 against Portland. He did that at age 20 years and 20 days, becoming the youngest player in NBA history to record a triple-double. This day, 2002, where would the Patriots be without the tuck rule game? Happened this day, 2002. I think that was I don't know, man. I think it was a fumble.
I don't remember it.
You don't remember it? Tom Brady was going forward, ball came out.
Before my time.
Game. There it is. This day, 2000, Michael Jordan announced he would return to the NBA and join the Wizards. Probably shouldn't have done that, but it's all right. This day, 1994, 30 years ago. It was the coldest recorded morning in Cleveland history. The actual temperature was minus 20, 56 straight hours below zero with 10 to 20 inches of snow. I guess it's snowing back out there again, so be safe if you're out and about.
Would you rather have it like 100 degrees in your room trying to sleep or like 20?
Well, I'd rather sleep when it's cold. I run hot, so I'd rather be cold than hot.
Okay, I'm the
because you can always warm yourself up. You can't cool yourself down.
I'm the opposite, actually.
I always warm yourself up. The question is, would you rather being frigid cold or a lot of snow? Would you rather be like in the high 20s or like 30s but a crap ton of snow? Or would you rather be negative 10 but no snow?
Negative 10, no snow.
See, I'm the opposite. I'd rather have a lot of snow.
No,
I don't mind the snow. Snow doesn't bother me.
I hate it.
The cold is what I really can't stand. This day, 1974, UCLA's 88-game win streak was snapped by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They overcame an 11-point deficit with only 3 minutes to play. They won 71-70. Was Austin Carr on that team? Stand by. No, he was gone. He left in 1971. 1971. This was 1974. I was just wondering. This day, 1903, the Tour de France was first announced. Listen. We don't shame people on this show for anything. I don't get cycling. I mean, I get it, but I don't. And I know I have friends that have I'm not talking about Pelotons. But like actual like road racing. I rode Velosano one time. I just did 25 miles, Ryan, and I thought I was about to die. Now, I got done with the race. You know what I found out? The rear brake on my bike was stuck the whole time. So imagine pedaling while the brake is on for 25 miles up and down the hill over there in Little Italy.
You want to know something crazy, Matt?
You don't know how to ride a bike?
I think I've ridden a bike once in my life.
What? Oh, dude, what a generational gap, man.
Once in my life.
When I was a kid,
I had a scooter, though.
The only thing that mattered was your bike because that was it. You wanted to go play basketball with your friends. In my day, you had to have pegs on it. You had to have the cool thing. You know about dyno bikes?
No.
You weren't doing anything unless you had a dyno. D-Y-N-O. And I had a friend of mine, my best friend growing up, Ryan. His parents bought him like a $500 bike. Now, I love my parents. I never needed that. I got, bikes from like Walmart and stuff. That was fine. But you had to have the pegs on it that you never actually used. Your bike was your life when you were a kid. At least for me, again, a generation.
For us, it was really big thing was rip sticks. Do you remember rip sticks?
No, what are rip
sticks? They have like
sticks?
2 wheels. They're like long. It's
and you like wiggle.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. Get on a bike.
That was a big thing for my age. Never rode one of those either.
Good. Keep it that way. Yeah, man. But like, talk about the Tour de France. Armstrong. And doesn't it get bored? Don't you get bored when you're on the bike for 5 hours just pedaling?
To me, it's the same.
You ever see the picture of those guys after like a stage and their legs
They
are
got a
just
mad leg
oh
pump.
my god. You could not pay me. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's always a dollar amount. You couldn't pay me enough to do that. And then again, you got these cheating bastards that they're not only blood doping, but then they take the bike apart and there's a little engine inside of it and all that kind of stuff. Get out of here. Come on. And even the people, listen, I ain't knocking you if you like ride in the metro parks and all that kind of stuff. No thanks, man. No thanks.
Did you watch Lance on Oprah?
No. Well, like when he first admitted all the blood doping and stuff. Not really. I mean, the thing about Lance Armstrong that I'll always remember more was the Live Strong stuff. That he beat cancer. And I will never, like, as much as you want to rip Lance Armstrong, he donated and raised a lot of money for cancer research. But the big thing for my era was everybody had one of those Live Strong bands. Everybody wore one of those Live Strong bands. But he was a cheating bastard. So
You
I don't
ever
know.
have silly bands?
What's that?
Silly bands?
No, what are those?
They're like little wrist bracelets, but they're like when you take them off, they're like animal shapes.
Oh,
Those were
yeah.
Those were our big
Well,
thing.
we had slap. Everybody had the slap bracelets. Yeah. I grew up in the era with the Abercrombie and Fitch shell necklace. No, I never had one. Other people I knew did. I wore Abercrombie and Aeropostale, but I never wore the shell necklace. That was a
shit
big
myself.
thing. If you saw me with a shell necklace on, aren't they like puka shells or something? Like not puka nakua, but like those shells and all that kind. Have you ever been inside of an Abercrombie?
Yeah.
You know how it smells?
Yeah.
You know how they do that, by the way? They have boxes that they open and they put in the air ducts, and it just emits that just stench.
Our big thing was American Eagle.
Yeah. I was Hollister, Abercrombie, Aeropostale, back when you'd go to the mall and you'd sneak inside of Spencer's and see a bunch of stuff you weren't supposed to.
The biggest scam of my generation, and anybody my age within 5 years knows that this is so true. Nike Elite socks were the biggest thing growing up. $14 a pair, and I probably had 20 pairs.
The high,
and that was probably on the low end of how many pairs that people had.
It'll never change.
$14 for a pair of socks.
It'll never change. There's always and listen, it'll never stop. That there are just things you got to have in school. What does everybody have to have
Stanley
now?
cups.
Stanley goddamn mugs is what they got to have. I
Dude,
shouldn't have said. I apologize.
Now
But
they have the
still,
Starbucks. The Starbucks collab.
Oh,
People,
you see people
waiting in line.
People
yeah.
at Target to get in there
like
and
waiting
get
in
one.
line at 4 a.m. for a stupid cup.
Good for Stanley, man. You want to know the one piece of Stanley equipment that I own? A tape measure, because that's what they actually make. They make tools. And then they actually said, all right, we'll make this insulated mug. Whichever marketing person came up with that, bravo. To the man or woman that came up with that, genius. They've made millions off of this stupid cup. It's literally no different. This is not a Stanley. It's just a mug. Like
Oh my God! Now they're $16 a pair.
And the thing is, I have 2 kids, right? They are 2.5 and 6 months old.
Oh,
There will be a day that they're gonna come home and go,
Yep.
Dad, you gotta buy me this or that, or I'm not gonna be the cool kid at school.
dude, I did that with my mom. I bought.
Everybody
The big
did
thing
it.
was basketball shoes too. You'd wear them every day. It doesn't matter. You'd wear basketball shoes every day. They'd be spending $200 on LeBrons.
Yep.
I bought these like Lake Hornet, I think they were called. Ones like $200.
Yep.
Barely warm.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it as a parent. And I guess I will look forward to that one day. It's just the commercialism of the world, and you don't want to be the kid that's not in school with, again, yeah, it's now these freaking Stanley mugs and all that kind of stuff, but, I don't even know. Oh, we started like Tour de France, Lance Armstrong, Live Strong. Everybody had to have something, so there you go. A very happy birthday goes out to former Cavalier JaVale McGee. I love that clip from Shaq. Edgar Allan Poe, Dolly Parton, Janis Joplin, Mac Miller, R.I.P. to both of them, Jodie Sweetin of Full House fame. Can I admit, she was always the hottest on that show.
Which one is she?
She's the middle one.
Is that Michelle?
No, Michelle's the youngest one.
Oh God.
Well, that's the Olsen twins. Jodie
Yeah.
Sweetin was, I think, Stephanie. Is that was not her
Yeah,
name?
Stephanie. And the older one is
DJ.
Yeah. That's Cameron something.
Yeah, right. Jodie Sweetin. Sean Johnson, gymnast. Shawn Waynes, Little John Rinaldi, Cleveland legend. You know about Big Chuck and Little John?
I do.
Okay, thank God. Do you know about Goulardi?
No.
Educate yourself a little on Goulart. Google that. That's a Cleveland legend. And I'll shout out and a very happy birthday to a former colleague of myself and friend, Aaron Goldhammer, celebrating a birthday today. I texted Aaron this morning, do not leave your house. I know he's off today, so do not leave your house. Stay home with the kids. So happy birthday all around. Today's National Popcorn Day. Favorite kind of popcorn?
Caramel corn.
Caramel corn, but I like the cheese. Like, you ever get, those tins you used to buy in the holidays, and one was buttered, and one was cheese, and one was caramel? I would just pull the centerpiece out and just mix it all up. I love me a good popcorn.
Yeah.
There's I know it closed, but Campbell's Sweets, they used to make their own kind of popcorn, the funfetti and all that kind of stuff, so good popcorn. All right, 2 movies for you today. I mentioned one as being a cinematic masterpiece. Would you like to start with that movie?
Let's do it.
Did you see The Gift this morning? And you have no idea.
I kind of saw The Gift.
Okay. So this day, 1990, 2 handymen are forced to take on a beast from under the ground. 2 handymen.
Is that the movie where they're in the sand?
Yeah, there's sand in that.
And if they touch the sand, it eats them. They have to stay off the ground.
They gotta stay off the ground, right?
I don't know what it's called.
You don't know what it's called, but have you seen any? Do you know any of the actors in it? Very famous actors.
I think they made was there a remake of it?
There's a crap ton of remakes.
I think I've seen bits and pieces of the remake, but
they have made TV movies off of this.
Is it Worms something?
Kind of Worms. Have you heard of Tremors?
No.
Tremors. Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward. It's one of my favorite movies from when we were growing up. Came out this day, 1990. They had, okay, here we go. Tremors 2, The Aftershocks. Tremors 3, Back to Perfection. Tremors 4, which was a prequel set to olden times. Tremors 5, Bloodlines. Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell. And Tremors, Shrieker Island. 6 movies it spawned, and I'm pretty sure that Michael Gross has been in every single one of them. He started out Burt Gummer. Fred Ward was in the second one. Kevin Bacon probably couldn't be bothered to do any of this. I'm pretty sure he did. Dude, he's been in every single one of those. Shout out to Michael Gross. I wonder how much money he has made off of Tremors.
Is there a movie that you've watched that left you scarred?
In a good way or a bad way? Or you're talking about that you're afraid to do something?
Or just a movie that lasted in your mind oh my God.
Well, Jaws, everybody's afraid to go, the movie that made you afraid to go in the water.
Have you ever seen Human Centipede?
Yes. I'd rather I didn't, but yes.
Okay, so I watched that. I thought that was bad, but then I watched, have you heard of Tusk?
No.
Oh my God.
Now, are you talking about scarred from you're afraid to do something, or scarred that this is one of the biggest pieces of crap that I've ever watched?
The latter. It's about a dude.
Have you seen a movie called Splice?
No. It sounds familiar.
Adrian Brody.
I like him.
You're not going to like this movie. I
don't think it could be worse than Tusk.
I don't know tell me about Tusk real quick.
This dude, he's a reporter. He travels to interview this older gentleman who was stranded at sea, and he got saved by a walrus.
Oh.
And so he went to do a interview with this guy. He drugs the reporter, Justin Long.
Okay. Jeepers Creepers, great flick.
He wakes up, his limbs are gone, so he's just his body.
Oh,
and
he turns him into a walrus.
He turns him into a walrus. He removes all his teeth, puts Tusk in there, sews pounds and pounds of blubber on him.
Okay.
But the worst part about it, at the end of the movie, sorry, spoiler, he gets rescued, but his mind's so messed up, he truly now believes he's a walrus, and he goes to live in the zoo.
Okay.
Ew, it was so gross.
I will join you in another similar movie called Splice. So this is Adrian Brody. I don't even know who the girl is in this. This movie came out in 2009. Sarah Polley. Long story short, they are 2 scientists who are working on splicing animal DNA to create hybrids for a company. So they create this human-animal hybrid that they call Dren. She eventually continues to evolve. She gets hands when she wasn't supposed to. She gets this, tail thing. The whole plot twist comes down to that Adrian Brody's character has sex with the animal.
I've heard of this.
The animal retaliates by killing him, transforming into a male, and then having sex with the female scientist and impregnating her.
Nice.
Just a giant piece of crap. That and the remake of Black Christmas are the only two movies I think I ever got done with, and I go, I wasted 2 hours of my life. Horrible. What? Just a terrible movie. Awful movie. Tremors, great movie. Tusk and Splice, terrible movies.
Why is there 3 human centipedes? That's the real question.
I didn't even know they made other ones.
Oh my God, Matt, the one is a jail. They're in the jail, and it's a human centipede, but it's like 300 people.
I saw the first one. That was enough for me. Enough for me. All right, I do actually have one more movie for you, which is also, I think, a very good movie. So this day, 1996, this movie also spawned several sequels that never lived up to the hype of the original. This movie was not directed by, but starred in, and screenplay was written by a very famous movie maker. So I'll tell you that. 2 brothers end up going to a bar, but it's not the bar that they thought of, and they're joined by a family. Any guess? 2 brothers. Would you like the last name of the brothers?
Yeah.
The Gecko brothers. Nothing?
Doesn't help me.
Star-studded cast, including a former Batman.
Clooney?
And what's that?
Clooney.
And again, he's not even the most famous movie person that I'm talking about. Clooney played one of the brothers. And then this gentleman played the other brother. And he was Mr. Brown in Reservoir Dogs.
See, I know Reservoir Dogs, but I don't know which one was it. Steve Buscemi? Was he Mr. Brown?
You're overthinking it. When you think Reservoir Dogs, who do you think?
Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino. So Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney play brothers who are joined by a family that go to a bar.
Is this on like Dawn? Is in the
From
title?
Dusk Till Dawn. I'll give it to you.
Because you know why I know that? Because that's the movie that Quentin Tarantino, you said he wrote, right?
Screenplay. He did not direct it, but he was a screenplay, and then he started.
Doesn't
Yes.
he like drink or lick from Salma Hayek's feet?
Yeah.
Because he wrote that into the movie. Like him doing
Salma
it
Hayek,
himself.
Juliette Lewis, Harvey Keitel, of course, plays the family, and
Quentin Tarantino has a mad foot fetish.
I'm sure he does. Yeah, Salma Hayek, right. There's a great, I think I might have done this bracket before, but of the best vampire movies. Dracula 2000's a good one. Have you ever just seen Vampires?
No.
That one is a John Carpenter one.
It's got Warm Bodies.
No.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Vampires is a good one. It's got, oh my God, who do they make fun of in Family Guy? James Woods. James Woods.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Ooh, piece of candy.
They went into James Woods. That's what it's called. And then the least famous the least famous of the Baldwin brothers, the one that really had all the alcohol and drinking problems, he's in that too. Vampires. I can't. It's not Steven. Vampire. 1998, John Carpenter. Daniel Baldwin. Isn't his daughter the famous one that's married to somebody?
Haley Baldwin's married to Justin Bieber.
Is that his kid?
I don't know. I know it's not Alex, so probably.
No, I don't think so. Maybe I don't know. No, Haley Baldwin is Stephen Baldwin's daughter. Who's Ireland? Oh no, that's Alec Baldwin's daughter with Kim Basinger. Daniel Baldwin is not the one I was thinking of. But he's of the brother. He is of the brother family, but he starred in Vampires. How we got there, I have no idea. Fun conversation regardless. From Dusk Till Dawn and Tremors, both this day in history. All right, Cavs tomorrow. We're not going to do our boost tonight just because we'll get it tomorrow when everything comes out for that. We'll get going this weekend as well for all the NFL playoff action. Ryan, this clip about Joe Flacco is starting to really make its rounds. If we can play it again quick, we're here at the end of the show. But he was on Pardon My Take yesterday, and he spoke about the culture with the Cleveland Browns and how Flacco really impressed with his short time here in Cleveland. Here's Flacco yesterday on Pardon My Take.
Already said that you wanted to keep playing, that you got the confidence back, and we saw that the arm's very much still there. You can still play. Do you want to come back to Cleveland next year?
Ooh,
man. Man, Cleveland was unbelievable. I'm definitely open to be back in Cleveland. At the same point, like I don't want to rush to any decisions either. I mean, you don't. I didn't know what the market for QBs was going to look like last spring, and I don't know what it's going to look like this spring. So I don't know if I'm going to have options or if I'm going to have zero options. You know, I love Cleveland though. I love the building, the people, everything about it. I think, it's funny when you go from, when you get to see a few different organizations and then you go to Cleveland and, I don't think people really, you don't think you ever hear too many like, oh man, Cleveland's an awesome organization and man, they've done this well and done that well. But I can't say enough good things about how that organization is being run right now and the atmosphere in the building and the way that guys feel like their future's headed. So I think it would be a very special place to be.
He's got no reason to bullcrap you. He really doesn't. And I think he wants to continue his NFL career is great. And I don't know if he's necessarily the kind of guy that wants to burn bridges on the way out the door. Ryan, he didn't have to go that in on it. I think that's him speaking truthfully. And that is, Browns fans are smart for the most part. They know, yes, we want to win on the field and it's going to take these players, but all we have ever strived for such a long time is that, a well-run organization. And I know people want to jump on the Haslams for their business dealings with Warren Buffett or what they were doing with, Pilot Flying J and all that other kind of stuff. All I can tell you is how they have operated owning my football team. They own they own the team, but it's our team. It's Cleveland's team, right? And how they have run the team. And all I can tell you is, first off, they have paid for their mistakes. They have made mistakes as young owners, as new owners would. They have paid for those, number one. And number two, they have finally got the right people, in my opinion, in place. They have learned a little bit about ownership in the NFL. We have come out the other side, and you are finally now one of these teams that are viewed as not being dysfunctional. That is one of the best things that I can say about this team. I want to win. I like the players that are here. But if I can just get to the level of what I wanted to be for the Steelers and the Ravens and all these other teams that have just beat us down for so long, what did they have? A good organization. We finally have that. And that'll take us a lot further than anything else. And that is the one thing to jump onto and be proud of. Doesn't mean this season didn't end poorly. Doesn't mean you're not upset by that. But you got to believe in the future of where this team is going and believe we got something cooking here. It's not done. Job's not done yet. Got to make some moves this offseason. You got to come back and play well. Yes, Deshaun Watson. Yes, this and that. I get it. But I finally believe that this team is in the right spot that they need to be to persevere all this stuff and put out a winner. That's all we ask for. That's all we've ever wanted. And I frankly think we already have it. All right, great stuff today. Appreciate everybody joining us. Stay safe out on the roads. If you're out and about, stay safe out there. Chico coming up 12-2. We got big play, big bets later tonight. Getting ready for the NFL action. Can't wait for that. Ted Ginn today too, maybe? No, Ted? Okay, fine. So we got big play, big bets, and Chico coming up 12-2 on your pseudo Football Friday. Getting you ready for the NFL playoffs. Do not forget about our boost. It is up at Tipico. Go bet. We made our selections for the weekend. Use that code Fontana100 when you sign up with our friends at Tipico. Deposit and bet $25. Get $100 in bonus bets. Flex Parlay is cooking. All the other boosts are rocking. Check it out with our friends at Tipico. Great stuff. Happy Friday to everybody. For Ryan Tyler, I am Matt Fontana. As always, take it easy.